guys, welcome to the Real Talk Show. How everybody going? My name is Kyle Joseph. Y'all know what time it is. It's like be real time. Monica, how you going?
Fine, just fine. I'm fine, thank you. Good night.
I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, you mixed with Chinese?
Yes,
Okay, looking like you have a little Chinese in you today. I don't know where it come from. And
yes.
you're just looking like a
I'm
little Chinese
Oriental.
mix. You have what?
I'm Oriental.
You're oriented. Okay. Like a
Yes,
pack of ramen
Oriental.
noodles. All right. Let me Mark and Eva. What's the scene?
Good night. Good night, everyone. Good night, Facebook. Good night, YouTube.
Good night,
Hey,
everyone.
all good? All good?
Right?
Hey, where's the scene, Nalini? We have a special guest here with us. I think this is the second time Nalini on it.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
second time.
Okay, nice. Tonight we're talking about in-laws, mother-in-law, father-in-law. It's going to be an interesting show. There's something that if you don't have any yet, it's going to be interesting in your future. And vice versa, if you have right now, your future is still interesting. So, if you want to take it away to just let everybody know what is the winning, what is going on in the show.
Yes. So, good night, Facebook. Good night, YouTube. Again, welcome, guys, to the Real Talk Show. We are here, we are live, and we're ready to hear what you all are thinking. I sure a lot of you all, I feel like I always say this in almost every show, but I'm sure you're going to have some stories first.
Yeah.
This could be one of those very touchy topics. So please guys at the end of the night make sure your spouse and your in-laws, if there's anything bad, don't make it worse. But we want to hear some real we want to hear some real stories. Maybe you will have questions. We have a special guest here. I'm interested to hear what Nalini has to say. So guys, we want to hear everything that you have experienced. If you're willing to share, of course, stories, questions, whatever the case is, we are live and we're ready to chat with all of you. We want to have all your comments. We want to see you all sharing. We want to see you all liking. Of course, if you like what you see, make sure to like and make sure to share, guys. And once you comment, once you like, once you share, you can qualify to win one of our giveaways, all right? And we have three Amazon vouchers. So we're not one winner, but we have three winners, all right? And every show is this good, right? Where you always
Yeah.
win something. So you're being entertained and you're winning something. Like it can't get better than that. So guys, you're about to enjoy your Saturday night. It might be a little touchy, but hopefully at the end of this, there can be some resolution, something good is going to come out of the show. I can guarantee you that. All right. So guys, get ready. Get your tea, get your popcorn, whatever your thing is, get ready. We're gonna have an awesome show tonight. All right, Kyle, you can take it away.
Hey, awesome stuff, Eva. I see now a couple of people on the stream already. I encourage you guys to interact with the stream. To like, do something. It's only like about a couple of people. So I encourage you guys, like we boost the algorithm. Kristen Ryan says she want that Amazon voucher. I don't know what is going on with Chrissy today. Hey, I forget Chrissy on Facebook now, so she can do she thing
Yeah.
now. She can one
Yep,
chat
she could
and
get her
comment
own
and
voucher.
she can chat. Hey, where's you see Chrissy? Hey,
You hear that,
Tisai, I
Eva?
see
I just
Diana
put
and
that out
Kimberly.
there. She could get her own voucher.
Her about she own voucher. She know she mother go take it from she. The people saying they like
Nah,
to hear Eva. They do something
yeah, she
special
look
this
very
weekend,
pretty.
Eva.
She looking
Whoa,
pretty.
they disappear. Eva and Mark they get kick off the stream. So they'll be back with us soon. So you always see her pretty hair again soon, right guys? So hold on. She coming back just now, right? But the a couple people saying that they love the in-laws. I don't know, Monica, you could pull up the thing and read by the time they're coming back on the what we talking about, the summary if you have it in front
Wait,
of you.
I
Yeah.
don't have it in front of me because I was sharing. Hold on, huh? If
Hey,
you have
like
it,
they come back.
Yeah.
Eva, do you have the read up for tonight? They could read tell everybody know what we're talking about.
No, unfortunately, I don't. We have some technical
Yeah.
difficulties on this end.
I see all again kick out. I see like
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah,
came and kick all you out of parliament.
yeah. We lose
Yeah.
our momentarily. Unfortunately, I don't have the read up. I don't know if Nick has it.
I think she pulling it up by the
Yeah.
time.
We getting
I
problems with
went on to just share it, and the iPad. I still adjusting to this iPad world. I'm borrowing my child iPad here. So one
Wow.
second, all right?
The
Yeah.
by the time I let me tell this and a couple people hello, apparently everybody like can you hear you if I know it is up and you went out online this weekend, huh?
No, what
No,
happened is a long time Ava spruce up on this show. She used to spruce up and she stopped sprucing up. Now that
no,
she spruce up,
it's because as the home, it had to spruce up when you're home, but I do it for all of you. That's why I made that's why
oh,
I'm here today for all of you viewers.
You did what? You bail?
Feel special, yeah, babe.
Wow. So I didn't know what's
all
going
right.
on. She do bail.
Let me read it before
Okay,
I
you
say
ready?
something. Let me
Well,
read
let's
it and
continue
find
to
it,
share the
right?
stream, guys. Go ahead.
Right. So you ever wonder why the hottest pepper sauce in Trinidad and Tobago is called mother-in-law?
Papa.
It's no secret that given it's no secret that giving your in-laws too much liberty into your marriage could cause bacchanal. It is important to set boundaries for your parents to ensure peace and a cordial relationship between them and your spouse. But this is easier said than done. So how do you manage your relationship with your parents and your spouse while making them both feel loved? Join us. Yeah, join us for this. Yes, so
Okay.
that is basically what we're going to talk about tonight. I guess the challenges, how these challenges come up, why they come up. But most importantly, at the end, we want people to know that there's a way to deal with these things. And it's not just to let loose and say, let your mouth run and say what you want to say and have bitterness, There's a way to
Well,
deal with it.
Well, I'm looking forward to hear Mark and Eva's input in the show because they are brand new in-laws. So I look at
Well, to be quite honest, I was thinking about this show before, right? And I was thinking, am I going to have anything to say? I mean, if we're talking about good stuff, I guess.
Yeah,
But
it could be
yeah,
good, it could be bad. Anything.
I
Not
don't have
everybody
any.
had bad. I didn't have a bad experience with my mother-in-law, but I know lots of people who do. I
Yeah.
know people whose marriages broke up because of in-laws. Broke up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. So maybe we could
Oh,
start off,
wow.
guys. Maybe you all could tell me where you all think of some of the common areas and you chat too as you're building the show. If you guys can tell me where some of the common areas you could see like in-laws being a good thing or a bad thing. We all think some of the areas you could see there could be a little issues and some could be, a good thing. We think maybe Mark and Eva, they could start off. That's not
Yeah.
saying all here, right? We're talking about like general, like
Oh,
some things I could think that this could be an issue if you have an in-law or something like that.
well, one of the well, I would share from a friend of mine who recently got married as well, a couple of
Or one
years.
one of those friends of mine stories. Go ahead.
Yeah, um, she was living in the same house with the son, with her husband, and the husband's mother would she basically would critique her cooking and things. So like she would watch the quality of food she cooking for her son, and she had some issues with it also
Gosh.
because she was living in the same kind of area with the mother-in-law. The mother-in-law find like she should be helping the kitchen and the chores, and she basically wanted to be a mother to her too, like to yeah, like
Wow.
they didn't really have much autonomy to make their own decisions and stuff. She was like a
Wow.
coach, coach them along, and it reached the point that they really had to move on their own in order to kind of find their own,
To
Yeah.
survive.
make it for themselves and things.
Mm-hmm. I
I
seen
think,
Mandy saying she
sorry,
blessed to have great in-laws. Go ahead.
what is it, Mandy says she had great in-laws.
Yeah, and she tagged Javon. Mandy from
Oh,
who we know, yeah. Anyhow, go
I
ahead.
see that here. She say I'm
Yeah.
blessed to have great in-laws. Well, she looked so you could see it on her countenance and thing that she.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Oh my God.
All right, all right. Yeah, we go ahead. What was the stuff here? We think of something. He's saying the cooking thing.
Well, I think the major issue, what Mark mentioned, is really living with your in-laws. I think that is a big issue. Not having your own personal space. I mean, something hmm, like something as simple as an argument. If you have to have an argument in a home with,
Yeah,
especially, okay, so let's say I'm living with Mark
yeah,
and
yeah,
we
yeah,
live in
yeah,
his home. If we had a hash out something, it can be a challenge, and sometimes, a lot of times, we might be able to hash out something and come back good in a 10, 15 minutes. But if your in-laws experience it, so they see this happening, especially if you on the other side of things, then that could create issues and that could create lingering issues, and they could see you a certain way now, or they could see the relationship a certain way when this might just be a 15, 20 minutes out of your entire life with the person.
And up to today we do that, huh? We hash it out and we come back good. I remember that time me and Eva, we quarrel and all kind of thing that day, and then later on in the evening we go and she say, you see why you can't get an husband in my business.
It's true. That's very true. And that was a serious argument.
Yeah.
Something else I can think of is if like if the individual, whether it be the female, the wife or the husband, it is very attached to their parents or whatever the case is. Like if you're going back and you're telling your mom everything that happens in the relationship, that in itself, or even telling friends. I mean, I know we talk about in-laws here, but it creates a view of the person, and sometimes it's hard for you to change the view after you've already told them. Because this is a lot of times that's all they see. Now you, as the wife or the husband, will see everything, the good and the bad about the person, but a lot of times, sometimes when we're talking about things, a lot of times issues tend to come up. And if you keep doing that with your parents will create like this view of the person that you're with now. And in like a product of that will then be they can treat the person a certain way, or they might make certain remarks, like personal things might happen in a marriage, and then you might hear the person dropping words for the husband or the wife and that type of thing, and it can create a very uncomfortable situation. Well, sorry, I don't know if I can think of anything else right now.
Sometimes someone just have an issue with like the husband or wife spending a lot of time with their
With their parents, with their family. Yeah.
Definitely, like
This
you
is
know, how
mama's boy
mama's
and thing.
boy, yeah. See, it's a thing. It's a thing.
It's just a balance, I would say.
That's what
Papa.
it's a balance.
What getting flexible there one time, Monica.
I don't hear them clear now. What Mark said?
You don't hear them? I hear them good.
What
He say
Mark
when
was
Eva's talking
talking
about the
about.
balance and thing, Mark
No,
just get
he's
defensive
a
and
balance.
so he Eva's talking about like in the mama's boy thing. And Mark just
Right.
jump in and how to be a balance.
Actually, the balance is not the word I would use now, actually. But yeah.
Which word you would use?
Well, I mean, if it can't balance, your wife would always tip it over. Your wife had to have the more weight. So when it comes to balancing with your mother and your wife, there's your mother and there's your wife. You get your wife up here and your mother.
I like Eva smoke right now.
So it actually not supposed to balance. That's just the truth. That's just
This
Bible.
real talk, this real talk. Let's see this real thing going on
No,
here right
Gotta
now.
balance.
In front of your faces. Let me be real. Or let's see what's going on here right now.
No, what I watch not balance.
That's the balance.
I am weak.
I
Oh,
say
no,
that
balance,
thing
Mark.
keeps your mother bad, but if
I
it
guess-
can't balance, your wife always trump your mother. Always.
Well, I mean, I would say I know that, but I guess what I was referring to is like if you have stuff to do and thing, you try to get around your commitments at home and thing.
That's what we're talking about mama's boy.
Yeah, so that
But Gabriel,
no, well, I just saying obviously
yeah.
your
Let me be real here right now.
Oh, yeah,
Let me get
like and
a little
share,
peep
like
into
and
Mark
share
life.
is straight. I
Yeah.
use Mark famous term, like and share.
yeah.
it's all right. Like I said.
Because I didn't help my mother and thing sometimes.
Of course, you have to. No. Let me clear this up. Because we don't want people saying you cannot help your mother, especially if your mother does not have a husband, right? Of course, you have to help your mother, right? Nobody's saying you can't help your mother, but sometimes you had to draw a line. You had to draw a line. I mean, so you say balance, but honestly, it hard for the mothers, right? It hard for the mothers to let go of their children in that way, even fathers to totally let go. Because it's for a woman to, Mark has been there for his mom for all these years, supporting her, helping her. He's been like the man in the house, right? And now he gone, and he's the man of his house. He have his own home, right? And all his mom know is to call Mark for help. Mark is the one, right? If I need this is my son. And it takes as the mother, it takes a lot of self-control and understanding, I guess, marriage and stuff to actually hold back. So the thought might still come to her for everything is Mark, but what a mother should learn to do is say, no, what, all right, let me don't call Mark, let me call somebody else. Let me see if I could call, you understand? Understanding that now Mark, have his own family, he have his wife now, whatever. But I'm not saying, obviously, of course you have to help your mother. I mean, you'd be wicked if you just abandon your mother and you have to help her. But sometimes you are the ones as the man, as the married man, you have to kind of set boundaries because the moms could overdo it at times. That's what I mean. I'm not saying your mom, right? But trust me, mothers out there, they will call every weekend. They have a project for the son to come home and do. Son, the cupboard breaking down. It's up termites and no good at camp.
Those motiva.
The cupboard breaking down.
I
have nobody to call, Sonny. And nobody to call. They could come and help you, mommy. And if they're doing that every single weekend and taking away your time from your wife, it's gonna be hard. But that is something you wanna, you say, mommy, come now. You're my girl handyman for your mommy, So yeah.
Hey, a lot of people coming on again. I encourage you guys to interact with the stream. Do something for the heart, for the smiley face. You can get angry, you can do anything you want to do, right? But Unika, they shared some of the bad stuff. What do you think is some of the good stuff a parent and those could be especially maybe a newly married couple? The in-laws, how they could be a blessing.
Yes. I was just hearing some bacchanal with some dogs outside. I know Chrissy went to walk Dexter. Anyway, well, I'll use my mother-in-law as an example. My mother-in-law, even though my mom taught me to cook, right? It was really from looking at my mother-in-law that I picked up a lot of other things. And I would say much better habits because Kerwin's mom cooked much healthier than my mom. My mother, she loved to cook, but she would cook any, she not thinking about healthy. She's not thinking about not putting salt and not, so she making lasagna and it's real, so she cooking like a Trini then.
Macaroni salad and potato salad.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. She everything rich, everything thick, everything gravy, everything, But my mother, Kerwin's mom, I guess because of her health, she would cook healthy. And when I started eating her food and watching how she would cook, I used to admire how she would use little bit of seasoning, like not overdo it, like, and put us at that cheese and thing and all that. And it would still taste good. And I'd be like, she not overdoing it. She not putting all these additives, all this Maggi thing and all that. And her food still tasting good. So I pick up a lot from her in terms of cooking. And another thing, so good habits, like how to keep our house, because again, it's sounding like
how to keep our house. Okay.
Hush now. Just hush and let me finish. Yeah. My mom was a little happy-go-lucky in that area, because she grew up a little spoiled. So, the first time I learned, this is no lie, the first time I learned to make up a bed properly, like, how you fold it up, people, like, if when you go in a hotel, how the bed is made up. It was Kerwin mom who taught me to make up beds like that. So I would make up the bed and stuff, yeah. Before I just fold my sheets and put it there, or my mother make up the bed for me. Yeah.
What happened? That she says, so this is how you make a bed.
That's not happened. But anyway, yeah. She wants to know how that happened.
I asked her, I was like, gosh, your bed always so neat. Your sheet, it looks just like a hotel. How you do it? Yeah.
Okay.
If I thought she come in your bedroom and see your bed sheets and say,
No,
Uh-uh.
this
no,
how
no,
you
no, 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 no. Well, we were real close. Cohen mom lived alone. So obviously Cohen we had to be a part of her life. Although she would drive, she would go and get her own groceries. You know, we'd be by her, lying by her now and again and stuff. So a lot of things. And I was friends with my mother-in-law before I met my husband. We were actually friends. Um, Laugh and talk and lime and thing. She never used to like to drive, so I used to drive her around, and so a lot of things I picked up. So the good things, because as a young woman getting married, so if you're a young woman, you get married and you have a good mother-in-law, she could teach you not only, basic things you need to know, like in home, things that maybe if your mom didn't teach you, also how to take care of her son properly, because his mom would also tell me certain things. When I say properly, I mean, obviously she know him in a way that I probably wouldn't, as a mother. And she would tell me, Cohen like this and that, and Cohen like this and that. And I appreciated that. I appreciated
right.
the intel. I call it intel. Um, so yeah, I mean, and then she was a support when I had my daughter, because my mom passed away just before I got pregnant. So Cohen's mom was the one who helped a lot, with Kristen and stuff. So I mean, listen, thank God for in-laws if they're good. Thank God for them, because they could be a real blessing in your life. And my mother-in-law is a real blessing in my life.
Okay, awesome
So
stuff.
yeah.
Now we have Nilini here with us, and we want to go to our story next because obviously talk about in-laws. We want to go to the comment section, but in the comment section, we want you guys to leave if it is you do have an in-law or your new stories. You can leave it in the comment section, and let we hear some, some interesting because I see a lot of people putting some comments about some stuff already, right? So let me go to Ava and Mark, and let me hear what is going on online, guys. I think all you muted. Good job.
All right. So let me start by saying good night to a few of you lovely people. I know, I saw Crystal and I saw Mandy on earlier on. Let me say good night to all of you. Let me see.
You said that.
Sorry. She said something to me, or she was talking to somebody else. Okay,
No,
I
this
think
is
that's
just you.
so. This side Joseph says my in-laws always come together as a family, never separate. Thank you, Aniala. Yeah. Society says I learn a lot from my mother-in-law that my own mother hasn't teach me. Society also added it have real nice mother-in-laws out here. For example, my mother-in-law treats me like her own daughter. All right.
I see Ayana Toussaint as well saying, well, I just helping Eva with the comments because we having a little trouble with our usual device. And she's saying, I also know of someone who has to go by his mother every day to get food before he go home. And his mother always saying how his wife can't cook. That's why he has to come by her. I see Mandy Phillip here saying, I absolutely admire the relationship my in-laws have. They still have date nights. Josiah Joseph.
I read that one just
Okay. Going up a bit.
Go all the way up. So we don't miss
Yeah.
anybody.
So Patrina Hernandez, you can read it. Thing on the ground.
Kind of seen it. A friend of mine was living with the father-in-law, a newly married couple. The father-in-law thought he was the husband.
Yeah.
Ayana's sister, she says, I know someone who used to control her son's income and had lots of conflict with her daughter-in-law about his spending habits. I think the issue there is the husband not giving the mother his income. Katrina says meddling is definitely an issue. Marcia, good night to you, Marcia. Let me see. Society Joseph, I know someone who was in a relationship, and because the man's mother didn't like the girl, he broke up with her. Well, there could be more to that story. Who knows? Blue skies happened to me all my years of being in a relationship with my common law husband. He tells his mother everything. Imagine I don't even know how much his salary is, but he hide in the room and telling his mother on a phone conversation.
Oh, well,
Oh Lord, The trouble here tonight. Katrina says it's easy to get over an argument between two, but the extra voices and views can seriously compound the situation. Very true. So I see the mothers, but
She's saying, see the mother's boy thing?
yeah,
God,
good. You
mothers.
see, this is
Oh,
really
so
a
much
thing.
mothers.
It's like a thing. Nalini, so true. Why did I say true? Let me see, Manny. I think we read Manny's comment earlier. Parents remember everything you tell them. So if you tell, okay, no, we didn't get this one. So if you tell your parents about an argument, they will remember even after you moved on. Exactly.
That's true.
I think this is kind of based on what we were talking about earlier. Kelly Nyla, good night. Good night to you, Kelly. Susan Singh, good night to you as well. Is that Justina? Justina Batiste, good night to you as well. Katrina says sometimes the mom's jealous, the wife. I never had a mother-in-law though, but I hear so. Okay, Katrina, thanks for clearing that part up. Ayana, I also know of someone who has to go by his mother every day to get food before he go home. Or this is what we read earlier, because he said the wife can't cook correct yet. Go down a little bit. I think we got these.
Just
right.
one last new comment.
Yeah. Shelly Bash says, all these nice comments, good for you, but I have the most despicable in-laws ever. But thank God for the Holy Spirit in my life, but I am able. Okay. All right, that's a serious one there. Shelly, just for that comment, you are the winner of our quiz.
Yeah.
You are the winner of our first giveaway tonight, Shelly. Congratulations to you guys. All of you have viewing. You'll see how easy that is, right? All you have to do is comment and you qualify to win one of our Amazon vouchers, right? So just remember to continue commenting questions, your own point of view, your own little story, whatever the case is. You're kind of, if anybody here for the first time, you'll kind of see how the show going so far. So just comment, all right? We love to hear what all of you have to say. And we're going to go back to Kyle now. Shelly, congratulations to you on your first giveaway.
Hey, awesome stuff, guys. That's interesting to hear some people input, because Shelly say, all her song, like, all have some nice mother-in-laws and father-in-laws, boy, but my own wasn't the best. So tonight we have, you good?
I was just going to say fast that it reminds me of somebody who I knew, when they first got married, the husband had own land and thing, but the mother was talking to him and saying, this woman knew you can't really trust her. So put the land in my name and your name, or put it in my name, something like that, so that the wife would not necessarily be able to divorce. And so as the marriage got stronger, the husband realized, wait, I could have put the land and everything in my wife's name because she's a good wife, and so there was the mother to pass away. But unfortunately, the husband passed away. So the mother-in-law end up, at the point now where she want to put them out with the children and the wife out with the children and with that kind of thing, and it's a whole situation like that with the in-laws.
Wow.
So they have to go to the lawyers and stuff to try and figure it out.
Okay, interesting. Tonight we have Nalini here with us. Now Nalini is going to share some of her experiences. Now we know this is a tough subject, especially like let's say Mark and Eva, because we'll have to go back and see them. So if you will get out, you know what I mean? If you had something to say, you understand I'm from there. So sometimes it's a tricky thing. So I know Nalini is going to use some wisdom and share her lovely story. So Nalini, good night.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
Hey,
all right.
Nalini, so nice to have you here. Maybe first thing I'll ask is how long are you married? Well, you were married for, or you're married for, Nalini?
More than 20 years. I got married in 1999. So I'm married more than 20 years, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So
and what has life been like with the in-laws? Maybe you can start off with, that little story about,
Okay, so I would start off with that my first relationship before I got married is I was in a very highly abusive relationship, and out of that relationship I had 2 boys, as well as I got saved because I wasn't saved before. I didn't know the Lord. So I started going to church, and coming out of that type of relationship, my focus was on my kids and trying to better myself and on the Lord. I had a tremendous relationship with God. And so in church is where I met my husband. Right now, when I came, I don't know if I believe I am healed, and I was healed for that first relationship. And I didn't want a relationship right when my children were young. I was studying as well. I was in my dad's home. Even though it wasn't always easy with my dad, because he wasn't safe and he was bipolar, so I had issues to deal with. But other than that, I would just say I was my own woman in a sense that I was bringing in my own income, seeing about my kids. It's just I was living in my dad's home. So I was going to church, and my husband now he's about 9 years younger than me, and he started to pay attention to me in church. During the time he paid attention to me, he and his mom had issues, so they weren't talking at all, right? So I didn't really know anything much about them in that sense. So he would always be coming around very often and very persistent. So he worked diligently for 3 years. I mean, I would tell him, listen, I don't want no arguments with your mom. I don't want no problems. It's better we just remain friends in Christ. And I'm not sure at what point, but he did end up we get through. We got married, right? So the
Before
topic
you
is
go
not
on,
on that
Nalini,
decision. Hmm.
Nalini, is it that it sounded like you said you told him that you don't want any trouble with his mom and stuff. Is it that she didn't like you because you were older?
She didn't like me, one, because I was older and I had 2 kids.
Right, you had
And
2 kids, right?
yeah, I had 2 kids. But that's something that always confused me because she was already married. She had 3 kids, and then she met somebody else and she had another three
Right.
kids. So like, but at that time my focus wasn't on her or anything, whether she liked me or not. It wasn't an issue. I knew I had a deep relationship with God. And one of the things when we get married is sometimes we lose that our own identity with Christ, even with Christ, and our own
Yeah.
identity, and our marriage become more our identity than our relationship with God and our own personality, our own self. And to be honest, I was a very free, naive, cheerful. I'm still, always a smile no matter what I'm going through, and always a good word. I love to dance. I still love to dance. I still love to sing. So I had really good qualities. And so when we met, he was speaking to his mom. They had issues. And as a good Christian sister in law at that time, I would always encourage them to, when you have to make up with your mom, you can't hold on to things, stuff like that. Um, so 3 years later, after we met, we got married. And I think we had issues before now. My mother-in-law went to church with me. And so we were all part of the same church, prayer group, stuff like that. And for my wedding, I think my mother-in-law cried more than she was happy.
Oh
And we would
gosh.
have prayer meetings. Yeah, we would have prayer meetings. We had personal prayer meetings, and she was part of my prayer group, intercessory group for the pastor's wife. And there would be time my pastor wife at that time would have to encourage her, don't cry, he's an adult. He's making his decision. And I would ask her, "So, but is something wrong with me? I mean, this person, honestly, as I told you tonight, Anika, if I had known now what I known then, as all of us say, that,
You mean
we
if
would
you
say
knew
different
then
steps.
what you know now?
Then,
You said it back,
yes,
right? If you knew
yeah,
then what you know now, yeah.
yeah. So, because I mean, being married for over 20 years, I would tell you that it's only the last few years I think I really receiving healing, and my eyes are really opening to certain issues. You understand? And it's not easy coming out of that. So my husband and I, we got married. We moved in. We were living together before actually, and then we got married and stuff. So my wedding actually was very traumatic,
Oh
and
gosh.
yeah. So my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law both wore wedding dress. So I was like,
What?
okay.
Sorry, you say that
And
over
Hold up,
there
hold
now?
up.
yeah,
Nalini,
my
you said your
eh,
mother-in-law and your sister-in-law wore wedding dresses.
yeah, she wore her own wedding dress, as well as my sister-in-law borrowed her wedding dress as my maid of honor, which was my choice. So, but the thing is, I didn't know better. I was thinking, okay, I'm being this good Christian daughter-in-law, and I totally did not know boundaries. I had no idea what boundaries. I was too nice. You understand? And I was too naive, and that cost. And there are times I say it cost a very high price. You understand? But I want that price to work for Christ now. And for my wedding, there were other traumatic things that happened for my wedding night, but I don't want to disclose that. So the first week after my wedding, my mother-in-law was in my bed for the second Sunday, and I was like, for my wedding, my husband was drinking. So I was like, I quarreled because it's like, I met this person in church. Wherever I went, he went in all the services, you know. So I I I am not thinking that okay, this person drinking alcohol. I didn't know these things. So it's like you're being good to get the ketchiganda, the goose or the
Right.
chicken or whatever. And then after the true colors come in. And so my mother-in-law came and she started to argue with me. Well, he too young, and you can't be on him like that. I said, but I'm going to church. Now I'll tell you, I was in church. I was so not. I mean, I was like, what Christ pulled me out of. I didn't want nothing else. I didn't want anything, but the arguments used to come. I was placed as they were like a competition between my mother-in-law and me now with my husband. But what happened is that sometimes he would go, like if we argue, he would go back home. She would keep him,
Oh,
and I don't
okay.
know what thoughts would go into him, what conversation, but we are married, same church, and he wasn't able to speak with me. You understand? I'm going to service by her house, and he cannot talk to me. So this is a high level of control because she felt that he made a bad decision. But he used to always tell me, "Listen, you are what I want, right? I choose you. So age has nothing to do with it." But eventually, the negativity started getting in because the competition went is like when I had arguments is like, okay, you're getting into the family, I'm getting into the family, I'm getting into the middle of the family, I'm keeping him back from his brothers and his sisters and his mother. So I became the enemy up until
Right.
not, that issue started for years. So it became like a war zone. But I want to say something. Yes, it was a war zone, but not one day in my mother-in-law face that I ever cursed her or did I ever
Right.
argue back? I did have arguments with my husband personally. Of course,
Right.
I mean, I cursed. We had terrible arguments. We had fights physically as well, and there was one instance where my mother-in-law took my husband, and when I went up the night, it was like we just had an argument and he run back, and I was abused that night in front of her, and she just took him inside, and I was like, I mean, these trauma over and over and over eventually put me into a position that I didn't know who I was in Christ. I felt like this is it.
Right.
Well, I'm not good enough. So I have two children. I had a bad relationship. So it came like, well, I could do I could treat you bad. You understand? They could treat me bad, but and then I became a terrible people pleaser. I mean, I would go to the extent and cook meals for my mother-in-law. I would do everything. I didn't know who, I wasn't in Christ. I was in Christ, but I didn't know my identity. I didn't know boundaries,
Right.
And my last pregnancy, well, I had two boys before, and they also suffered that effect, which is sad because sometimes I blame myself and say, they didn't get to finish school, certain things happen. And I said, maybe if I had just stuck it out, but I've learned not to live with regrets, you know. And I mean, when we go into church, there would be times that she would come in and her line of family, all my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, everyone will hug him, they'll go to the seat, and I'm like, rejected. So it was another high form of rejection. So I will be honest, I lost who I was. I lost who I was. I was praying, fasting, but I didn't know boundaries. I didn't know a lot of things, and the abuse got worse at certain times. And remembering one time that I was pregnant and I got abused because of my sister-in-law. And I left and I went by my cousin, and they just naturally went by my mother-in-law, and she was like calling me to find out info. So there are things that I'm finding out now, like some of my other in-laws say, I didn't know you were this nice. I thought you was always controlling, and now why we see the other side. You understand? Because my name was dragged through the mud, and you know, I to fight to get back who you are is really hard. But as the word of God says, He's close to the brokenhearted. That's
Yeah.
20 years of trauma. That probably a lot of things I didn't remember, but I never disrespected her. When her husband died, I was there. When she got sick, I said, you could come home and stay by me. You understand? So I never let the love of Christ come out of me, no matter what they were doing behind my back. Even with my sister-in-laws, if they come to me now and they need help, I'll be there. But now I know boundaries. Now I know what
Right.
toxic relationship is. I did
Right.
a few. Besides that, being in Champion taught me a lot. I did course with Dr. Primer's solidarity movement on relationship, and I'm like, I was amazed when my eyes started to open. I cried.
Yeah.
I actually cried because I said, I went through this and I didn't know better. So, it could be very misleading. Now, a good thing that come off of this, I do have my eldest son. He doesn't serve Christ right now. He's married. He's married to his wife is Hindu. But a few times I'll ask, I say, so you don't mind that I keep my son money sometimes when he think he gonna spend it out? He said, no, it better in your hands. And I say, gosh, she said, well, I just lucky I have you as a mother-in-law. And the love that I feel for my daughter-in-law, it is like I probably have more better relation. I have a close relation with speaking to her. So when my son come over, I say, so you don't mind he's sticking up underneath me? Go take him back now. She said, no, because, he's just making up a time that he won't there. So it's not good because she's not saved yet, but I have given her a Bible and I have opened Christ to her life. And
Right.
I feel that love for her. And it's not a false love. It's not a fake love. They had an incident already with physical, and I told her plainly what to do. I did not, and my son knows that I do not condone anything that Christ would condone for her life, or I would accept anything. I would let her accept anything that I want to accept for me. And that's a good that came out. So I know that a lot of relationship goes through this with mother-in-law, father-in-law, generation, and a big part is generation curses. And when people come in with baggages are not totally healed,
Yeah.
I know that if my husband knew too the same thing as me, things would have been done differently. You understand? You know what? So the healing part though is only Christ to really,
Yeah.
really bring out. My mother-in-law passed away 11 years ago. She never get to see Joseph. That is a whole different story. At that time, I thank God every day for where He have me now. You know.
Yeah.
Okay. Also,
Wow.
your mother-in-law not alive again? That makes sense.
No. This is a very
No, she
strange
passed away
thing.
11 years ago.
Yeah. When
Oh,
Joseph
okay.
was born, when Joseph was born, we had some pull and tug, and Joseph came before time because my pressure wasn't going down for certain reasons, and I ended up staying on the ward, and Joseph came before time, so he was in ICU. So the day that my son came home was the day that she went into the hospital, and 2 weeks after she died. We didn't get to go and see her because we didn't want to transmit anything to Joseph being so premature and the ordeal that he went through in ICU. So
Right.
she didn't get to see him. So she, 11 years now, she passed away.
Okay. I just still stuck on the story with the wedding dresses. I just
Yeah, I haven't gotten past that wedding dress yet. I don't think I mean, that sounds like something from a movie. It sounds
yeah,
like
that sounds
Monster,
like all the movies.
You know Monster, That's one of my favorite movies. It sounds like that. Wow.
You hear about that, Mark? You hear what she said? I know you disconnect all the time.
Yeah, she was saying basically the bridesmaid had on a wedding dress too.
Her mother-in-law
And
and
her mother, her sister-in-law, and her
her
mother
sister
had on wedding dress.
wedding dresses for her wedding.
Uh, but what did the bridesmaids wear?
My maid of honor was chosen for me and was my sister-in-law that she wore wedding dress. Now,
She
mind
was
you,
chosen for you?
It was
yeah,
white.
my sister was white. My sister-in-law And I now is the only one of the sisters that remain very close. And she always tell me that a lot of things that came to her was the right stories, because well, I would just share this. When I was young, I was sexually abused for a lot of years. So that now I tend to be different around girl children. So I'm very protective. I have no girl children, maybe God knows why. So with my sister-in-laws and them, I wanted to be like an elder sister to them. I wanted my mother-in-law to accept me. So I became a people pleaser. So, I would take them, I'll comb their hair, I will do all the nice little things, but I was also very protective. And then a lot of confusion
Like
happened.
how
But
old were they? They take them and
um,
comb their hair.
they were they were like 8, 7. My other sister-in-law, I think she was like about 10 or 11, my sister-in-law. Now she's living in
Oh,
Canada, but we have a good relationship, and she understands now. She calls me sis. She doesn't call me sister-in-law, and she actually have a relationship with me, not with my husband. And
okay.
so we were able to bypass what happened, which is good. And my sons and her sons and daughter, I have a niece with her, and if she only come to Trinidad, I will steal her, of course. So I thank God, because it doesn't change, certain parts of me. It didn't change certain things
Yeah,
with me.
yeah,
So did
because
I mean
that
I did
those
you
types of experiences, sorry,
yeah
can make you really better.
did it how did it how I mean you shared the story about how it happened, but I thought more like did you think that the input like directly affected your marriage, like the way your husband would view you and stuff?
Yes, so did I became the enemy because he was always told that I am getting in the middle of his family, and that is his family, and I'm taking him away from his family. So I felt, well, okay, I it actually did something to me where I didn't realize who I was after what I that's why I became a people pleaser in order to win them, to keep them in a in that relation. Then it started to do a lot. I had to tolerate things that wasn't nice. So even though then my mother-in-law passed away, but now I still have one or two instances, but actually I have set boundaries. If
Okay.
nobody want to speak to me, that doesn't say who I am, and that's not.
Right.
I used to, so if they stop talking to me and they rejected me, I used to say at that time it used to make me feel I wasn't worth it. Now I know who I am, and there's a big change when you go to hear the right word of God, the right leadership, right counseling. That is so very important when it is you're dealing with marriage and a marital counseling and anything to do with marriage. you know I did a solidarity course with Pastor Douglas, and they showed where Christ is at the top, man and woman. And even if the man removes himself, you still fall under Christ. And I was like, okay, I'm still protected, I'm still loved, I'm still being taken care of, even though I don't have a husband. I don't have that in that circle. So, teachings are very important, very, very important.
Yeah. So when you think about all this whole thing, any question specifically want to ask Lily along the story, maybe like I will ask her like skewed her relationship because we didn't really get us in a sense, but I know you
Well,
still stuck on the dresses, but go ahead.
no. I mean, I think what is really important, okay, you can't control your mother-in-law, right? You cannot control your external family, because just in case you didn't know, when you become married, your mother and your brother and sister, they now become your external family, your relatives. Your family is your wife, right? And then when you have your children.
You listening,
Um,
right, Mark? Go ahead.
Oh well,
so
okay.
Kyle, not now, not now.
You go ahead.
So my question to Nalini is, what should have happened is that her husband really was supposed to be the one to really step in and correct his mother, and put her in her place, which is not in your marriage. Putting your mother in your place is not a bad thing when you're married. Sometimes even Jesus put his mother in her place already, because he understand how mothers can be now, pushy and feel that they're still in control. They don't want to let go of control, right? So it was really his responsibility, Nalini, to really talk to his mother and make sure those things don't continue. But did that ever happen? Like, did that happen where he like would pick up for you and tell his mother, well, no, you can't do this, or you can't say this? Did that ever happen?
There were times that it happened, but there was always like a guilt trip. And like when it is that she passed away and he didn't get to go and see her, I think that I paid like the result would be that I was wrong. He should have been able to go or whatever, but I didn't stop him, and I think like he did that.
So
What
I
times
know
he
when I
did
say
that.
how you could stop him from going and see his mother. I don't know how you what
No,
power you have to do that.
at that time when we came out from the hospital, we did not want to go into the hospital to see her because of Joseph. Joseph
Yes,
was
I
in
remember.
ICU. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's because of that. So I never stopped them from if she went in the hospital. Otherwise, actually, I used to go more. I didn't, But remember as well. Remember with me now, I became insecure. I became very insecure around him and with her and with my sister-in-law. I always felt I was the bad one, so I wasn't healing during those times. So there were times, yes, I would stop and say, no, you can't. They would actually meet up without I knowing. It was done behind my back. And I was like, okay. And so, it's a whole scenario. And as I said, now as you rightfully say, it was the charge of the husband. And I think there were a few times he did, but she was very overpowering. And her words were very overpowering. And he never had actually, his father was abusive to his mom. Then she left and she went with, she had a stepdad. He had a stepdad that was abusive to him. So it became where now he didn't know what a normal family is or was,
Right.
So he
Yeah.
himself needed healing, So I guess too that came like where I would sympathize with him and always took out a lot of things because saying he didn't know better, he don't know this. And coming to Cham too, hearing Kerwin's testimony about his dad make me realize that but if you open your heart to Christ, it could change you. You don't even if you came out from a bad relationship, doesn't mean that you have to be the same way that your mother or father was. So it's
True.
how much you open yourself to Christ, and of
Yeah.
course we still have free choice, so
Yeah, awesome stuff. We want to go to the comment section, and obviously, if you all have any questions you want to ask Nalini and want she to answer, she will, because you all know we talk about mother-in-laws, and we want to get in the next part. We want to get into like maybe how to like deal with boundaries and how we should resolve some of these situations. Because a lot of people who might have conflicts. Shelly, if you're still listening, you see Nalini had some stories to share that her side wasn't always gold and roses, but the real challenges people face, and sometimes
Yeah.
the situation is some people it might be as bad. Like we know a couple who when they're getting married, the person in-laws basically didn't even want to stand up and say anything in the wedding, and they basically hated one of the people is getting married, and sometimes it's challenging things, and all of them were Christians, right? All of them were believers, and it'd be because those things are touchy things. Your son and your daughter, people tend to have a high opinion of the daughter or the son, and they think, well,
Yeah.
sometimes some people
But
never good enough.
nobody could ever be good enough. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is a really a interesting thing. So maybe go to the comment section and hear what it is people saying online, and we'll go back to the rest of the show. Eva.
By saying good night to Joy, brother. Special good night to you. I feel like the first time I'm seeing you.
Joy, no, I've seen Joy on different like I'm breaking bread and
I
different.
don't think I ever saw Joy's
No.
name.
Good night, Joy.
So good night. If this is your first time on Read Talk viewing or commenting, I want to say a special welcome and good night to you. Tomorrow, Whittle, good night to you as well. Marcia Price, good night to you.
I never hear Whittle as a last name. That real cool.
Leila Sukmalan, good night to you. Let me see, Mackenzie Francois, good night to you as well. Marcia says, wow, the hate was real with your in-laws. I strongly believe in looking at a person or man's relationship with their mother. I'm assuming she probably means even before actually getting into marriage. I'm not sure. So says, I totally agree with you on that. The way a man treats his mother shows exactly how he treats the woman he's with. Ruel Josiah, good night to you. Josiah also added, thank God you never treated her in no bad way. Mackenzie says, such a sweet soul. Katrina says, thanks for sharing, Nalini. Sai also says, God bless you. Oh my gosh. Sarana, wow, thanks for sharing. I pray God continues to heal your heart. Sounds very painful. Marcia Price, those dresses were the test that showed your kindness and weakness. They would not have made it past the door ever. Marcia Price, oh my God, Price. Let me see. Patrina says he didn't leave and flee. Patrina also added, when you change everything around you changes. Mandy says, my opinion and observation, most Indian mothers with sons tend to think no man, no woman, no woman, she has woman, no woman is good enough for their son. Marcus Matthew, good night to you. Blue Sky is talking about the present man past his 40s. Talking about the present. The man past his 40s. Ruel says, I agree with Katrina. My second giveaway goes to Mandy Phillips. I think this is the first time I actually getting to see Mandy commenting here. I usually see J1 sometimes. But Mandy, congratulations to you. You are our second winner for tonight. Congratulations. You are the winner of our Amazon voucher. So guys, you all saw how easy that is. Remember to keep your comments coming. We are getting to the final segment, but the final segment is usually the best, is where you get some revelation, some resolution, that type of thing. And that's correct. You know, just here to say these are the bad stories about our in-laws or whatever the case is. We actually want to make a difference at the end of the day. It's not a healthy thing to have a bad relationship with your in-laws. This is your spouse, family, parents. That can never be healthy now. So guys, we're gonna get into that good stuff now. We're gonna go back to Kyle. Congratulations again to you, man. Guys, keep your comments coming, your stories. If you all have any questions, as Kyle mentioned, if you all have any questions for Nalini, if you all have any questions for Nalini, be sure to ask them. Or even if you have questions for anybody else on the panel, myself, also feel free to ask, all right? And you could also continue sharing maybe your own thoughts on how resolution, like steps into getting to a better place with your in-laws. So we're gonna go back to Kyle now. Kyle, you mute. I'm hearing you.
I just want to say to Nalini, I am like speechless. I had no idea that you have been through these challenges. I mean, people will know, but I Nalini, and I have a different respect for you now. Like, wow, it really could only be God to bring you or come to this point. So just seeing you here and just seeing you now is like a testimony to me of God.
Hey, all again, Drew?
We hearing you now, Kyle.
Yeah, we hear you.
I just seen Candy Parlor comment on YouTube there.
Yeah. Let me just read that very quickly, right, Kyle? Says what happened is I can't see the YouTube comments because of the because I'm using Facebook. I'm not using StreamYard. So that's why I can't comment. So if there's any other after Candy, you can go and put them up and I'll read them, right?
Sure,
so Candy says I really do agree with you said about knowing identity, because you can really find yourself trying to please your in-laws, for acceptance.
True stuff. You know, so we want to get into this. Maybe obviously everybody might have a little input in this, and everybody online, because you know, Mandy, you ain't just win our prize, right? You see how you are the best in-laws and different things like that, right? So we want to know, like, where's some of the boundaries, Onika? How do we go across this process started? We know in the Bible it's clear God told us something from since the beginning. He said that we told Adam and Eve for this reason, and now they didn't have no father and mother, so we telling them that.
No father and mother.
He was instilling something in them, you know what I mean? That, you know, that for this reason. Huh?
I think you're smart boy. I never think of
that for this reason, I'm you leave and you know cleave to your wife, right? So I will mark your cleaving to your wife, right? You're joined with her. So when it is here that Onika, where's the first thought that's come to your mind when it comes to like the same thing with in-laws and we're not talking about like marriage in that aspect, right? But I'm talking about like in the area now, because you say for this reason, a son would leave the mother and father house and cleave to his wife. So he's dealing with
Well,
something not necessarily just with the wife, but he's talking more like that relationship with the dynamic of
yeah, the reason was the two are supposed to become one, right?
right,
What God really wants to achieve in a marriage is oneness between the man and his wife, and oneness in a lot of different areas, to become, entangled in the soulless realm, but we know physical through sex, we know even emotionally, for the two to become one, right? And it is going to be very difficult to do that if you are still entangled with your family, with your mother, with your father, your brothers and sisters. It's going to be difficult to become one with your husband or your wife if you're more one with your mommy, right, or your
right,
daddy. You and your sister, you have this sort of relationship with your siblings, that if you have a better relationship with your siblings than you do with your wife. That is not God's intention at all. I mean, I know at least 3 people personally who got divorced because of their in-laws, and it was not something that just happened like when they got married. It was happening even when they were dating, right? The mother never liked and Mandy make a good point. 2 of the 3 scenarios that I know, it was Indian women with their sons, right? And
what's that? What's that? Anyhow,
no,
good.
yeah, it's not. I mean, of course, I don't want to stereotype, right? Okay, probably,
I
I
just
don't,
joking
I don't
with
want to
you,
go
girl.
down
You
that
do
route.
your thing.
But
You do your thing.
it's
Good.
just coincidence that 2 of the 3
Uh-huh.
that the man was of East Indian descent, and right. Anyway, so um, it was something that was known before, right? That okay, the person knew that her boyfriend mother never liked her. She would voice it. She would have family lines, like when they were engaged and stuff. She would have family lines and don't invite her. Like, for she would try to plan a birthday line for him and not invite his fiance to his
Wow.
birthday line, right? Because she threw the line. No, for me, this is me, right? Yes, Ava, I'm telling you, right? Real mad scene. As if I was his girlfriend and he allowed that to happen, I would have probably ended the relationship. Because he allowed it to happen. You
Right.
actually went to the line and enjoy yourself and eat the food and thing, and then come home and tell me your mother plan a line for you, and you come in and you know what I mean? What you're supposed to do is say, Mommy, I am not coming if you do not invite Susie or Mary or whoever, right? Mommy, I'm not coming to the line. You cannot do this. And if you don't accept my girlfriend, my fiance, it will cause a problem in our relationship. You let your mother know that. Say, if you love me so much, Mommy, if you love me so much and you want me to be a part of your life, you have to accept Mary, right? You
Is
have to
that
accept.
easy to deal with though?
No, it
Asking
is not.
honestly, because for somebody to make a bold move like that, right? That's a strong person who have a sense of control. For you to make a move
Yeah.
like that, it means that the
Yes.
recomposition. Where's the word? I'm trying to figure out the word right now. I
Repercussion.
get it. Right,
Yeah.
that word. that 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 would be confusion. You'd feel
Yeah.
it'd be backlash because for them to make a bold move and say, "Watch me, that to come," you had to be have
Yeah.
some, guts to do
Yeah.
something like that. So it means that
Yes.
they might be feeling well. If it is a do go, well, mommy go come wrong me or daddy go come wrong me, and it's just So
Yeah.
with your how somebody's ready to deal with a conflict like that?
Well, as I said, what is in that? Let's say in that scenario, there's a controlling mother, or let's say it's a father or even a sister. The person whose parents are being manipulative, and I would call that evil. I would call that wicked. That's wickedness, right? Um, what's really supposed to happen is the man, or let's say it could be the woman, they are supposed to step in and let their parents, let their family know that it's not a matter. If you want me in your life, you don't want it to be a choice. You don't want it to be me or, sorry, her. You don't want it to become the spouse or you, right? You don't
Right.
want it to be a choice. So we have to find a common ground. But here, what the problem is, be right, Kyle, and I'm saying this is the case for Nalini and so on. But in some instances, the parents are really seeing something in the person that they realize that this person could mess up my child life, right? They really
Mm-hmm.
are seeing like red flags that the person is not seeing. So that's where it becomes really tricky. But as the mother, let's say you are the mother-in-law or the father-in-law, and you've seen your child making a mistake, well, what you think is a mistake to marry somebody, right? The way to stop that or fix that, I mean, it may not be able to stop it, but the way to fix it is certainly not now to go and add fuel to the fire and cause confusion and do evil things and try and come in between. That is not the way, right? Because you're trying to control an adult, you're trying to manipulate your son or your daughter, and you can't, that's not how you fix it. So in that case, especially if it's a believer, that is something you'd have to take to the Lord. You'd have to pray. You have to go down on your knees and pray for your child. If you think that the person they're about to marry could be a detriment to them, you have to take that to God. Right? Of course, I'm not saying you can't tell your child. You tell your child how you feel, but you can't try to come in between their relationship, right? Your only result there is God. Mark, you want to say something?
Oh no, I was just wondering, like, like it's your daughter and she likes somebody and you don't approve of the person and she telling your mommy, you can't approve of this person, well, I'm sorry for you, kind of thing now, like the situation that you were saying. I just kind of wondering how it happened, but you kind of went into that.
Yeah,
It'll be rough for both parties.
Huh? Say again?
I think it'll be rough for the both parties if it's a mother here and that.
I'll be honest, if I'm thinking about my child, and let's say I really see in some danger and she being stupid, because people when they're in love they can be little stupid, right? That would be real, right? And let's say I know for a fact, let's say the person dealing drugs or they taking drugs or something like that, right? Something dangerous. I will go to lengths. I'll just be honest with you. I will go to lengths. I will go to lengths. Yeah? Unknown to the person. Unknown to the person. And I don't want to, but I will go to lengths to find. Sorry?
I say 800 tips. So see, I don't know if this the lady have a question that I said, we'll see now when you can bring that up, right? What was the age difference between your husband and you?
9 years.
9 years.
I just want to, so do you think that could be a practical reason why you had an issue between your mom, the mother-in-law, and you?
It could have been, yes.
And she had 2 children as well.
Yeah, but the thing is, he was living by his mom. He had to leave school and start to work. So even though he was 9 years younger, he was already working. So he was already working and
I know, but generally in society, that is not how people would see things. Generally in society, especially if it is.
How old was he? Sorry, how old was he?
Okay, so you're gonna talk about Robbie Cradle. He was 16. At the time he now started. So yeah, I know, huh? And I was 25.
Things making a little more sense, Nalini. Yeah, you have to put things a little practical, Nalini. I can understand why your mother-in-law would have an issue with, especially 16-year-old with 2 children, Nalini. That is,
Well, actually, we weren't in.
He was
16 years old.
Sorry,
he was 16. But
and
the
you had
thing
2
about
children
it,
already?
Yeah. I had 2 children. I was 25.
Okay,
but the thing about it, I didn't want any relationship. It took he had already crossed into 18 years. He was working, so he was an adult and he was 19 when we got married. So at all the times when he was 16, I myself did not want a relationship. So it wasn't just her; it was myself as well. Okay, Amos, if I see your face. But it's not something I went after. It's not something that I asked.
I don't know, but we're not. I not even know. We just want to clarify. Like it could actually see it could be a practical issue.
It shed some light. That shed some light.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure if Joseph or David at that age, 16-year-old, and about even if they're 2 children, a 25-year-old with a 16-year-old, it would be like, son, you'll feel that way now. You wonder what's going on here. So it's like, if it's even the role reverse. Even if it was a 16-year-old girl with a 25-year-old man, that's a man. That even maybe could be worse in the public view, right? Obviously, for
Guys have
reasons
to
people.
Well,
situation.
Yeah, I think
I
again, jail for
didn't.
one thing. Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's something that I took a stand for. I didn't really. I don't want to put it in a negative. So I didn't want a relationship. I mean, the person persisted. More than, well, 3 years after we got married. So
Yo,
so
persisted.
yes, you would believe he was at that time mature. He was
yeah.
working and everything. So
It's a 16-year-old boy. He, a big older woman like him. He say, "I get you."
no, that's what I didn't. I didn't. I just had it on the level of friends. So it took more than 2 years or 3 years. So it took me a long time. So I don't want to say, okay, he's 16 and I just went into something. No, I didn't do that.
I know,
I
but
thought
we could it make a little more sense with some things, Nalini, with certain
with some
issues.
things in the beginning. Yeah,
Yeah,
in
right.
the
With some
beginning.
issues, for some years, there is some things you still question. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because anyhow, so Onika, the reason why I asked that is to, like you rightfully say, people is have issues that is clearly in their view. Because I could be honest, because in the same scenario with me and my son or daughter and a 25-year-old with 2 children, I would throw a tantrum too. I'd be like, what is going on here? You know what I mean? I'd call the police. I'd do different things. I'd be really
Guys, nobody police there.
no, I just be practical. I could see it being an issue with someone. I could see how the other part of the story would feel like you're being on them, or and it's just sometimes people just have issues in that kind of way. But
So you would be open-minded, kind of, to see if it's a believer, to do some investigation,
a believer.
like the 25-year-old.
Nah, I didn't. It had nothing to do with believer. I think in that scenario. Anyhow,
Sorry, what Mark saying? I said, why not?
if I do
Mark,
some
what he said?
investigation, again, Mark.
No, just saying, if you just do some investigation before you know, kind of not recommend the person, you get to know them and see if they could try to see what your son is seeing in the person. If you would
Well,
take that
yeah.
approach.
I'll pause here for a second, right? Because I seen a comment, Patrina put in the comment section here. She said, my brother got married at the age of 17 to a girl 8 years his senior. My parents had to sign to give him permission. Papa
My
laughed.
gosh.
He was determined by my mom, was not happy. But my mom was not. They still married today, Patrina. Maybe you can let us know.
Imagine they have to sign. I'll have a sign to give my son permission to get married.
Um, but I think it's more frowned upon if it's reversed and the man is older. That's thing for us to go preach about in message and things.
Patrina said they're not married today.
Mark, you total.
What Mark say? I didn't know what Mark say.
Mark total.
What you say?
No, I just talk.
You say if it reversed and it's the man, like it's 25 and the woman is right, that's take pastor is preach about something on the pulpit.
Yeah, sure, right. Yeah. Mark know about these things. But anyhow, it's just interesting to know that. So when I go back to the story, right? It's just something that come out of the topic we was talking about. But with some boundaries practically that people listening to that you had to be realistic with, because also when it is obviously when God say that the mother and father you leave your parents' house, is that like you rightfully say you start in your own family. The man now is the head of a home. He have his own ways. He have his own culture. He have his own purpose on the earth now. Is something linked to something different because now you have your own family, your own things that you see about it. It's not that you're rejecting, your parents or any kind of thing like that. It's now you have a purpose you have a purpose in your marriage. It's not like
Yeah.
because many times people think, guys, I just get married and you're gonna be. No, you have a purpose when you get married. You have God have a plan for your life. You have things you have to seek out, when it is with your children, different things like that. You have to figure out ways to raise your children. You have to do, because everybody individual and part of all that is like rightfully, like you say, when a man that's a red flag. I would say for a girl, if it is a man kind of lead or stand up to his mom, like in a scenario like what you're seeing with
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
you would stop and you say, well, if it is I'm gonna get married to you and you can even stand up and lead in a situation like this, why we getting married for? You can't lead me properly in our marriage, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that would be a big red flag. You could see it's not necessarily you catch where coming from, right? It's not necessarily
For
just a relationship issue. It's a part of him being a husband to fulfill that role to you in that kind of way, right? So it's
Yeah.
important for people to know that it's not just necessary, just relationship it's used. It's really your purpose in our marriage. Because some people just get married for getting married so you can understand it's have a meaning and a purpose in it, right? It's our covenant,
Correct.
it's
Yeah.
different things you create with your spouse. So
Yeah.
with some other boundaries I should look into or put in.
Well, for one, I would, if you can avoid it, if you are in a relationship now or you're engaged and you're making plans, if you can avoid it, do not live with your parents. If you can avoid it. I know that not all people can, not everybody's, and some people, they have no choice maybe for a while, right? But I think, that even if you all come together and plan, you can work out something where you don't have to live at home with your parents, because first of all, that was not God's plan. God
Right.
didn't just say cleave to your wife. He said leave and cleave. And God know why he's saying that. God wants to
Right.
establish something new in your family. You are now the head of a family. He want to do something new in your life. He want to establish, you all have a covenant. He want to establish something in your life, a new ministry, something fresh. You know what I mean? A new purpose, separate from your old family, from
And
your relatives.
would you say also to Nika, your mother would always be your mother and your father would always be your mother? Father, I mean, right?
Yeah.
It
Sorry?
means sorry, your father always be your father. I mean, sorry.
Sorry.
What I mean is how they relate to you. That would never change. That's your child. You know what I
Correct.
mean? So it
Yeah.
means within some of the things that they relate to you, they will always view it to some degree as like my little girl.
Yeah.
You know, like when
Yeah.
Angela is
Yeah.
related, Eva. It's like like my little cutie child, and
Yeah.
Mark will say, "Watch, that's
Yeah,
a
I
big
will call
woman." You
Kristen my little baby. 'Cause when she's 40, I call her my little baby. Because she's my little baby, right?
Yeah.
And you're
But yeah.
commanded to
So first of
always
all,
honor them.
she got, was that
Is it, Mark?
Mark?
In one of the 10 commandments, you're commanded to always honor them.
Right?
Of
I mean,
of course,
we're good on here,
right?
Mark.
So thanks, Mark.
I know you're
Thanks for
good.
that.
Thanks for the information.
So I think boundary number one, don't put yourself in a position where you're in the same household under the same roof. Because I don't know if you all ever heard the saying, two man rat can't live in one hole. It can't have two head of a house. And if you in your father house as a man, if you're living with your father, he is the head of that house. You understand? So
Yeah.
it's a mixed up situation because you living in his house. He's the head of his wife and his house. That's his home. He have his boundaries. He set, the standard of the home, whatever. And you now as a man with your wife, you placing your wife under you and under him and under God. So she a real head. Because basically, if you're in your father's house, you have to abide by your father's rules, right? If your father
That's all right.
say in his house and your father say, nah, you can't have that in here, you can't do that in here, whatever. Imagine you're a
Little
big
things,
man and
yeah.
your
Yeah.
father locking up the gate 10 o'clock and saying,
Yeah.
well, now, which I have heard happen, excuse me,
Yeah, the
Oh,
curfew
which I
lift,
have
but I
heard,
have curfew. You understand?
right,
Go ahead.
I have heard that, listen, I am not joking, where people living by their parents and they have to come home a certain time because the father locking up.
Amen.
So you putting yourself in that situation. So my advice to you all, do not live with your parents. Make your own, find your own home, even if it's a hole in the wall with one, a
But
studio
but if
apartment,
it is
something.
is their scenario though, Nika, what would you say that the guy should or the woman should be with her? They should have to create their own space within the place. What do you think?
You'd have to create your own space, and
Create
not
some kind
only
of
that, you'd
boundaries.
have to have you'd have to make sure your father and your mother are reasonable human beings and willing to come to a compromise.
Yeah, sure,
And
right. 'Cause, yeah.
I am the head of my wife here. I am not. I'm here because I have no choice right now. I will, as much as I can, I will abide by your rules of your home, but don't come into my business with my wife. Don't try to tell me what to do or try
I
to
could
lord
see,
over
because I'll
me.
be honest, I obviously I'm in a scenario, right? But I could see little conflicts because like my mom would have certain things like in the kitchen a certain way, because that's how she just
Yeah,
prep certain things. But imagine how you
right.
bring somebody else to do something totally different, and they
Different. Yeah.
perhaps move something and do something different.
Yes.
That alone is
Yes.
argument.
No, it's true.
Huh?
after the kitchen, that'd be trouble. That
Yes.
like the woman playground now. I wish she just create
Yeah.
masterpieces.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not ideal, but if you are in that situation, I think you all have to sit down as a family before, not when it happened, sit down
Mhm.
before as a family and discuss certain rules, certain boundaries. You had to let your father or mother know, depending on the scenario. This is, I'm willing to do this, I'm willing to compromise here, I'm not willing to compromise here. You know what I mean? Because you're a big man and woman living in your parents' home, you can't let them mobilize you and treat you like a little son. You know, you can't let your wife
Right.
see that. You can't let your wife imagine your father coming and wake you up Saturday morning. Go and cut the grass, boy. You and your wife cuddle up in your bed. And your father
Mhm.
coming to tell you go and cut the lawn Saturday morning because you're living in his house and you had to do something. That's ain't right. That should never be. Right? That should never
Mhm.
be. As the man, though, if you're living in the house, nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I live in here, I want to contribute. So, daddy, I'm paying half the mortgage or I'm giving you this or whatever. But, you know, don't try to control my life, basically. You know, so you'll have to
In,
have that talk for sure.
in biblical days, is actually like how Mark and Eva would do it, you know. They would actually build what's in their land. It's not that they would go and buy next piece of property and you know, is
But
they move
Indian
to
people do.
yeah, they
They,
just
they,
actually do
they
that.
live on a street, so they live in a yard. Like they say, everybody
Yeah,
live in
but
the
they had
same
their own
yard.
dominion. They had their own place.
Correct,
They had
but you have
like
your
how
own place.
Lot and
Yeah,
Abraham and them was and they had their own space, they had their own dominion, they had their own thing, but
yeah.
it's their own
But it
territory.
was
It's not
like,
like yeah, they
yeah.
was under their own roof. They were represent, I
Listen, if
guess,
I
a
have
little
some
dominion.
mother-in-laws, you can't even do that with them, some father-in-laws.
Yeah,
They
I
want to
know.
go far. They want to go
That's every
far.
that's everybody love Raymond. When the mother-in-law just walking
Yes,
into your house and the
yeah.
father just living in
Bringing up
your
that
space.
doorbell. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's not ideal for all situations. It works for
That's
some,
actually
but
a good
not for
TV series for people to watch before they get married.
Very, but
Anyhow,
yeah, you see the cooking
I
thing?
will have a
You
very
see the
nice
cook
experience when it's time comes.
hmm?
what Mark say?
Well, I didn't hear
I
what you
say I'm
said.
sure I will have a very nice experience when it's time comes.
Of course.
You've been putting
Yeah.
out your life.
No, me?
Yes, you,
No, I'm just saying he looked like he on his head on.
brother.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Yes, you said boundaries. You said boundaries. Another thing I believe that the a lot of men don't do, you know, you might be close to your mom, close to your dad. You know, communication is real important. Just as it's important in a marriage and other relationships, it's important too. And especially if you had that kind of, I don't want to say the mama's boy, but you know, you was really, really close to your mom before you got married. You have to understand it's not going to be easy for her to let go. It is not going to be just an automatic thing. And I believe that you need, you know, in some cases, you might have to sit and have a talk with your mom, have a talk with your dad even before you get married, and say, listen, I love you. I want you to be part of my life, but, you know, X, Y, Z. My wife and myself, this is our business. Don't talk your personal business with your in-laws. Listen, are you listening to me? Do not go and tell your mommy and daddy your personal. They can't deal with it. They first of all they will worry, and then not only that they will look at your husband or your wife in a different way. So after Ava said it earlier, after all your quarrel and thing, all your makeup and kiss and more than kiss, right? All your makeup, all your good, right?
watch
But when the
Ava them
mother-in-law,
face.
when well, let me say it's Mark and thing. When Angela see Mark the next day, Angela face screw up and she want to box down Mark because she remember what Ava tell her last week and Ava forget. You understand? So you cannot tell your in-laws your problems. Do not do it. Don't tell them. They can't deal with it. First of all, they're gonna worry sick. They will worry
Yeah.
and think, well, what's going on, and then they will also look at their spouse differently. So try not
Yeah.
to get them into your personal business at all. At
Right?
all at all.
That is
Yeah,
true,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Mark.
Yeah, that's
What,
solid.
what advice you have out there for the mama boys, Mark?
Yes.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I would say continue honoring your parents. That's
Oh
the
gosh, of
command.
course.
But honestly, I would say like when I was getting married, I mean I grew up with my mom and thing especially. I was worried about kind of being away because I care about my mom and my family and thing. But I would say put it in God's hands because marriage is something that God intend to be a blessing, and even you leaving, God would take care
You must
of
have put
the
in God's hand, yes?
family and the household and thing.
I watch it Eva face, but go ahead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Go ahead, Mark, we listening. Sorry, go ahead.
all right. And you keep in touch and you create a how to say how to put a synchronism between your wife and
Synchronism.
you be open, you say, "Listen, my mom needs this and that and thing," and when you feel it's best that we see about this situation and thing, you just be open about it and open.
So if your wife tell you, nah, don't do that. Be mommy
No,
really
but
need it.
yeah, that's when we go to the pastors and they call the elders.
This Leave and Cleave thing hard, boy. Anyway,
No, but a good
yeah.
thing to do is to set all right, your mom living a distance from you, whatever. Like set a day in the week where you go every day. Like we used to come by Kevin Mama, we weren't living here, right? We used to come every Sunday after church and spend all the rest of Sunday. We'd spend the whole day by her, right? Because when we were living in Maracas, every Sunday. I mean, I'm not saying that if something come up in the week we couldn't go again, but we would dedicate that. She know every Sunday and she would cook and we lime whole Sunday. And nothing is wrong with that because especially when your mom, like Ava, what is wrong with you? Like in my case, well in Kerwin mom case, she live alone. She live
Yeah.
alone. I mean, Mark mom have other children living with
She have a whole
yeah,
excitement going
and
on home there.
grandchildren too. So we would go every Sunday, and if she needed something in the week or whatever, we go up in, so you have scheduled times where you know your mom know I've seen them every week this day or whatever. Nothing wrong with that. And then that way, all the things she need done, let me do it on that day now. So you don't have you call me Monday, then you call me Wednesday, then you call me Friday, then you call me, you know what I mean? So it's Mark, when you come Sunday, you will do so for me. Yeah, I will handle everything when I come Sunday, man,
Yeah.
Just a
But
suggestion.
I would say I'm adapting well, in my opinion, and in every case it's different for each couple. But I would say
Yes.
He adapted well, Eva.
Sorry, what's that?
Did he adapt well?
Yeah.
I
could.
and my mom too.
Sure.
But I guess
What
different
he say? What he say?
we off topic.
What she say?
We
Wait,
off
I
topic.
didn't hear it.
I feel she find me and my mom too. That's just my opinion. But this seems to be straight from the topic here.
No, it's actually that's what we're talking about, though, Mama's boy, and that's what we're talking about, though. That's exactly what we're talking about, though. I guess it's easy for Eva to say certain things. I don't mean it's in a bad way because Eva live in mommy right there. She right next door there, and it's not like the opposite way. It's the rules reverse. I sure you would want to go and see mommy often, Eva. Huh?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Anyway, anything I want to add into that? Maybe Nalini?
Yeah, well, Nalini was in it, so she could say.
Your vast experience.
You see, there have some people that sometimes if the couple is now getting married and they're looking to build a home and they haven't finished, and they have they are mature in Christ. I believe it wouldn't be so much of a problem and you already have the rules set and whatever and you have that relationship before. But it's a temporary situation and because I have a friend, she son and her daughter-in-law living with them until, they acquire a home and everything goes well, So I think the situation, as Mark said, depends on the parents, it depends on the situation, it depends on a lot of scenarios, But for me personally, of course, living too close would have been a problem, would have been worse of a problem. So it depends on the situation,
Yeah.
And I think that for me, a man and a woman need to make it on their own. In a sense, yes, you go out there because you need your wife cooking, even if it ain't cooking good. You need to grow together, So if mommy always cooking or mommy doing this or daddy doing that and daddy singing, you wouldn't be able to lead each other. So when you all have children now, you may not have that maturity because you're still dependent more on your parents than you all growing mature, you know.
So I have a question to maybe ask Unika and Nalini on this, right? I'm not married and I don't have any children, right? But if it is you do, like say, because obviously, um, there are some in-laws who are great people, but maybe they have beliefs that is real off the front. You know, they're great people, they're loving, they're caring. But I say, like, they grew up in a different religious way, in other words, right? And let's say, yeah, your little baby, and they carry them, and they want to see the child, they want to stay over and thing, right? But they just do prayers, and they do different things, and, you know, people just believe in the things. When the child is sick, get them a bush bath, do this, and, but now you're taking your child under somebody care, because you might say, right, I want to go and have date nights, and you're leaving the child, and they're doing the thing. How is related all of that? How you could deal with that whole scenario? What would you do? Would you even consider dropping off your child? I asking you practically things.
Yeah, no, that's a no. That's a no. It may cause offense.
That's why I ask you now, because I can see that them things being real practically offensive.
It may cause offense, but that's a no for me. I thank God for Cohen's mom again, and you know she was in Christ, and so she was the only person we would leave Kristen with when she was a baby, right? Although it was very traumatizing for her because Kristen stayed with no one, like nobody. She would cry right through, but we would leave her. I never even left Kristen by my dad, even though my brother and his wife lived there, because that's like an extended family. It's not just them. You know, the other people. I know that not even my brother might have total control over that domain to say who come in, who in. You know what I mean? So I sorry. My child and her safety is more important, unfortunately, than, you know, I'm willing to risk the relationship then with my father or whoever to protect my child. Because, but not only for the reasons that you said, Kyle, like they might have different religious beliefs, but every story of abuse I've ever heard, and I've heard many, too much to count, it has always been a scenario where the child went to stay by the grandparents, or the cousin or the uncle came over. It has always been that type of scenario. And so when Kristen could not speak and could not express herself, when she was of that age where she couldn't defend herself, and she slept, the first time Kristen slept out in somebody else's home was this year. She went by Chris and Sid because they their own place, right? She went. Yes, she went. You went hired. I said in somebody's house. Sorry, she here correcting me. She went hired for a lime already. But I mean,
Papa.
Yes. Oh gosh, come now. But I mean, in somebody's home where you have a person, you know, she stayed by Chris and Cindy, and that's because I know she not a little child who can't come and tell me, okay, somewhere ever go on, somebody come over. She not, you know what I mean? She can handle her stories. But prior to that, I would never let her sleep anywhere by anybody. I don't care who it is. I just not sorry.
Wow, because I know because I know stories like with I remember a young man was telling me that, you know, when it is they go by their parents, they be watching, like, because they can't they're worldly, but you know, and they will be watching MTV. And they go now and their daughter learning to whine and dance, and you know, and they in their own home, they're not watching them things, you know. And then after when they go to certain places,
then you glance something, you just glance something, and that could be it for you. Your eyes open up, your path, and you know, yeah.
So I just find, you know,
take that chance with your child.
Wow. So you realize how important, you know, even when you're marrying somebody, but the Bible already talk about how could two walk unless they agree. You really need to have to look at certain agreements within your marriage, because a simple thing like that, I'll be honest, I could see that offended the other person. Like, you don't want my child to go by my mother, and they say, well, look at like be practical here now. This what it is, do this what happen, and then they could just continue, you know, to a big offense, and they continue to back and all where you feel is, you know, and it's not that not the case. You're just looking at a bigger thing, you know. Like for me, I'll be particular with that, right? Because the way I introduced to porn was finding magazine in the house, and as a child, you know, you're doing whatever, and I could see certain things, you know. I don't want my child obviously exposed to certain things, and I'm not saying that would be the case, but obviously you have to be practical with certain things you're doing, you know what I mean? And it's just sad that.
You think it could really, like, if you're just on your phone alone, if you have a smartphone that is an avenue when you're going to school, all your friends have phone with data on it, and I am sure there's some people who will be watching. So what's really going on? That's a challenge.
obviously, like when you get older, you have different child. But like when you're young, remember in their own, that's where your
Yeah,
child will be in their own space, your own
but it
domain.
depends.
It means like when you
Yeah,
go online or you go over, you might drop a high. Sometimes your family want to see because as a grandchildren, you know what I mean, and they don't want to see
and
the
it's still
grandchildren or
different.
the uncle. Yeah,
It's still different because the child will see their grandparent or their uncle. They see them as a kind of authority now. And they will say,
yeah.
come, nothing wrong with what happened to you? Your father tell you something wrong. Girl, come now, come and sit down, nothing wrong with this. You know what I mean? And the child in a situation now, they're in the
Hmm.
man or woman house and they fall in mercy to, even listen, we talking about going by somebody's house. Even having family come over, right?
Yeah.
And they in your room playing. I not on that either, cousins and thing playing and the door closed. No, I got too much stories. I grew up with cousins. So I know what the scene is. I nobody can tell me nothing. Right? So any cousin come over, the door wide open, or they play in the living room. Or they go nowhere private and play. That's me. I good. I real good.
Hope you all learning that, Mark and Eva.
I
No,
grew up with
Now
cousins. I grew up
I
with
grew up
three
with cousins.
cousins.
I
And
grew
we
up with
get
mommy and
ourselves in
daddy
some good
stories
trouble.
and things. Yeah,
Yeah,
play
yeah,
mommy
yeah.
and daddy. Yeah,
The
and
house. They play house.
yeah,
They play house. Right. Don't play in
I
house.
never
Nobody play in
got
house in my house.
I used to be riding rubbish truck and thing and getting in trouble when you know about house.
Now we play house. We play house.
So I never
Anyhow,
I
guys.
was type find out about that. But amen
Yeah,
to that.
yeah. Anyhow, guys, we want to encourage you guys to really take in what we're seeing, and it's really some core things that you really look into and be observant about. And if you're in this situation right now, we encourage you guys to really ask the Lord for some wisdom and pray about it. But also, if you're a guy listening, yeah, and you're like Mark was saying, he's a mama's boy, he really had to man up, he really had to make decisions. And if you're a lady listening, and it's seeing certain signs, you have to really take that into consideration. Like if it is the treat their mother over you and different things, I really had to look in because that's not gonna change just like that. Then another's
No,
gonna
no.
in the relationship, then another's gonna go away and change. So there's some things you had
Yeah.
to look from now before and realize that this is the case, and then vice versa. If you're in this scenario, you had to ask God for wisdom and really see how you could work with it the best. Because at the end of the day, even though we just make it, some of the things we make it light, right? But Lily and her husband, you all are not together today, right?
Yes, yes, am I. I mean, you're not.
No, they're not together. But you're mutual, Nini, so if you're trying to talk.
Sorry. Yeah. No, we're not together physically. We're still married and we still manage the children together and other
Yeah.
decisions and stuff.
And would you say a lot of those things I went through added to like maybe your relationship not working out to the
A
point?
lot. Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot
so
of
it's
it.
just a practical, yeah. So sometimes you could actually be in love with somebody, you really love your wife and you really love your husband, but little things like that could drive a wedge in between both you all if you all don't deal with it. So it's important to really notice those things and really deal with it because at the end of the day, your mommy and your daddy separate from it. It's a unique thing your husband and your wife, the two become one. Your mommy and daddy
Yeah.
only do become one. Your husband and your wife, that only is one being. But in the context of you have one rule and one place, and it's important to know that you're attached to this person. So anything you all want to share before we go? We want to go to the comment section. You had a lovely time tonight. Anything you want to input in, Onika or Mark or Eva? I guess they would say
Mark,
anything.
I want to hear Mark input.
I would just say that honestly I'm still I mean I know it, but just thinking it like, literally like me and you, what is my family now and like making the separation in my mind that yes, my whole family is my family, but it's like me and Eva is the main family kind of thing. And it's
Right.
not necessarily with my family, I think too, because usually you say, but when you come, meaning there now, but like I see my mom and thing, like even today, because I was helping out with something, she said, well, you're going home now. I'm not sure if you're going to, come home by Evan. And I just thought in my mind, I feel if I was smiling if she did hear this. But
What? Mark and Ray living is your home, right?
Oh gosh, look here. Look here.
no, what I mean is, I know there's my home, but that's what my mother meant. Now. Like, usually they would say that where my mom is home.
You say that.
I just say it, but I just say it.
Oh, okay.
But now they're saying that this is my home now.
Yeah.
So But I would say it's a blessing to really emotionally and everything kind of make that separation and be invested in your family. I would say it's a blessing. Like so much things change and the way that I live life and thing now is totally different to what I was accustomed to. I would say a lot of things is actually, I mean, I'm talking public, but a lot of things is actually better now. In terms of my life and things personally, I really see how God, the way that He would have blessed me and opened doors, and even the relationship with everyone. I would say I mean, we have our issues at times, but it is a
Well, you always
blessing.
have issues, but that don't mean anything.
Yeah, I would just say if you ground yourself in Christ, that you give yourself the best chance because even with the issues, if you're not grounded in Christ, the devil is really want to step in and take it far and cause damage, and really the end result is to break up the family. So, I would just
Yeah.
say, as best as you can, see what who Jesus, your husband is, what a wife is, what submission is, what godly marriage is, what do you think they need to be free from, what's the qualities they need to have in order to really give your marriage the best success for you and for your children. And when your marriage is a success to you, you can be a blessing to your family, to your mom, and even the people that you care about so much. God could really put you in a place that you could bless them even more than you would have been able to.
And it's good to Mark. You grew up in a certain culture. By God's grace, your children will not grow up in that same culture.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, you see how simple thing is break generational curses too. That you grow up a certain way, and it's good when you separate and you detach from certain things, and you realize certain things were wrong, and you say, "Watch my nature, I'm not gonna grow up like this." You know what I mean? And you actually could break off certain cultural things that generationally that your children could be affected by if you didn't do that. If it was just the norm, you know what I mean?
I see that now because before I was married and thing, I had no problem bringing up my children where I did grow up. Not that anything necessarily wrong with it, but I would not mind their riding the rubbish truck like I used to do one thing. But as me and Eva married now, she kind of I
Eva,
see a
thank God
difference.
for you. Yes, girl. Thank God for Eva. Mark, so Mark, this means that you wouldn't be taking your children to see any dead bodies, right?
um, no,
It's
Amen.
long.
The man hesitate, you know. He hesitate.
Keep it going. But don't worry, I will be the grandmother, so no, I can answer for it, man. You know that, buddy.
Amen. Amen.
when when they are being
Here he
Let's
went of age.
When they're rich,
He's crazy. He's a crazy person. Y'all get a little insight here. Welcome to my world, guys.
Let me be real. Anyhow, guys, we want to thank Nalini for your story. I know you went through a difficult thing in your life, and we want to thank you for sharing it. And glad to hear overcoming. We encourage you to, allow the Lord to change your life and not make the similar mistakes, but encourage you to press forward in Christ and allow the Lord to change your life. And we want to go from, because you have awesome children and God want to do a marvelous work in their life. So I know things might be difficult now, but
Hmm.
in certain scenarios, because obviously, it's not the same between you and your husband, but there are bigger things that God want to help you with in this moment in your life. And those are the things we'll sort out as time go on. Yeah? Because remember, at the end of the day, you can't control somebody. You could at least dominate the space that you have the influence in. So, Mark and Eva, you all want to take it over, and you all can end off the show. So, good night, everybody, on my part, and Nalini, and I guess Unika. So, you take it away, Eva.
All right, so I'm gonna read the last comments. Obviously, some of them would have been early on in the show. So we just following along. Let me start by saying good night to Beverly. Campbell. See, real Wolf says I know your pain because my mother-in-law was not easy. See you well just fast. My mother-in-law listened to everything her son tells her. To her, he is perfect. I want no perfect man. Sorry, pops. Welcome.
Wow.
Real Wolf. Plenty of my trials I put it to Lord in prayer. it's not an easy road. Rural lessons to you. People see you, but they don't know. Tell my girl, okay, this is a personal message. And Risa Mark, I'm just thinking, here in mother-in-law story, some things can only be taught out through prayer and fasting. The leading and the word of God, you need the word for change. Rhea says, image when I feel this is imagine when my mother-in-law was sick. They say I walk over on her. When she passed away, I was the one who church and plus help with everything. Like cooking and so forth. Let me see. Katrina, if my husband or fiance ain't invited, I won't go. Okay, so this is when we're talking about the party, something like a mom planning something for a son or vice versa. Ruel says, put your mother in her place. Nalini, leave and please. Ruel, no. Once you understand the structure of family, you would have no problem. Katrina, no, it's not easy, but when you do it once, trust me, they won't try it again. Ria says, yes, sometimes they quick to say you disrespect if you put her in her place. Ruel, 16 is not yet an adult. Good night to you, brother David Landclose. Katrina says, my brother got married at 17 to a girl 8 years my senior. My parents had to sign to give permission, right? I remember Kyle reading the comment. He was determined by my mom was not, but my mom was not happy. Let me see. Katrina added, they have 2 lovely children, now adults, and are very good friends today. Katrina, if you must live in the same house, try hard to have separate living quarters, separate bathroom and kitchen. Manny says, get your own house and don't complain to your parents about your spouse. Did I read these already? I don't think I did. No. Katrina, some women are very territorial, especially with kitchen. Brother David Lantos, I live that life of living with mother-in-law. Asian people do that. Mixed family, that don't work. And that mess destroyed my marriage, but it is okay. I have to move on and not allow that mess to torment me.
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
Mr. Lantos.
Yeah.
Risa Mark, also when the wife gets pregnant and the mom-in-law wants to raise the baby outside of your guidelines, I think Nick kind of touched on this. Better to leave and please, guys. But on the other hand, ladies, try your utmost best to get along with her. Don't go telling your best friend and family members the little problems. Go to your pastor or truly trusted spirit-filled friend or family member. But not everybody here needs to hear or know. It's true. I think we spoke about a lot of things with regard to mother-in-laws, but we didn't really touch on the fact that if you do experience issues, it's not necessarily the wisest thing to go and broadcast it. Instead, exactly as Risa said, you can probably speak to someone that you trust for advice and so on. That's some good advice there, Risa. Katrina, I like the inclusion, man, that is wisdom. Ruel says Max is still adapting. We have to be very careful about the environment our children are exposed to. Let me see, Risa agreed with Nick. She had boys only. Okay, I think this is when Nick was talking about sending your kids by different people and stuff like that. All right, so my final giveaway, I don't think I have ever, there's so many, there's quite a few comments tonight, guys, and I appreciate all of your comments. I appreciate some of you sharing your little stories and stuff like that. We always enjoy hearing from all of you. That's really the purpose of the show and this platform for us to really be able to communicate with you and share with you and get your own point of views and so on. So it's always lovely having all of your comments. I want to encourage all of you to come back on the next show. We are here every other Saturday. I don't know if by the next show we might be in the studio. I guess Kyle will confirm that eventually. Yeah. But we are looking forward to seeing you all at the next show. We are here every other Saturday at 7:30. So not next Saturday, but the following Saturday. I hope you really enjoyed what you guys. I still have to give my last giveaway, so make sure and stay tuned. I hope all of you enjoyed the show tonight, and I hope that if you're here for the first time, you can go ahead and share the show with anybody anybody you think that you would really be a blessing to. Our shows are always on our page. So if you came in late or maybe you think that, oh, I think this will really bless somebody now that you've seen it, feel free to share our page. Feel free to share the show to someone else. And if you liked what you saw here tonight, remember to like the show, like the page. For those of you who view on YouTube, remember to subscribe and click on the notification bell so that every time we go live, you are here with us. Because we always want all of you to be here with us, right? We love having you. We love having your comments. We are grateful for all of you sharing and liking. And with that said, I'm going to give my final giveaway to Katrina. I don't think I've ever given Katrina an giveaway, and she's always here commenting. So congratulations to you, Katrina, to all of our winners tonight. Congratulations to all of you. You'll see how easy it is. You're here, you enjoy the show, some great interaction, communication, some good entertainment, and you get to win giveaways right here. Saturday night can't get any better than that, guys. Come on. So, guys, it was lovely having all of you here tonight. We look forward to seeing you in the next show and bring a friend next time, all right? So, good night to everyone. Mark, you want to say?
I just want to say good night, and I just want to say thank you again to the lady. I think it took a lot of strength and courage for her to come forth and to really share of her life, and I just admire who she is, the person that she is, because she's such a kind person, and I had no idea that she would have been through these different challenges, but I thank God that she met Christ, who would have, Jesus is ready to take our burdens away and give us strength. Say when we're weak, He's make us strong. Yeah, she's like a testimony of that. So I just want to encourage everybody to win your life. Just trust Jesus. Trust Him to lead your life. Trust Him to deliver you, to set you free, to heal you, to really perfect your life. And even in the tragedies in our life, like David was saying, his marriage didn't work out and things. Just believe Jesus to pick up the pieces and really still allow His purpose, even though things may not necessarily go the best or the way God would have wanted it to. God does still have a plan and a purpose for your life. So don't feel defeated. Don't just be stuck in a season of defeat, but believe Jesus for victory. So I just want to share that. And thank you all for watching and being a part and playing up with me and stories and things too. I guess me and Libra are gonna finish talk about certain things. So
Good night, everyone. Thanks again for being here with us. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday and the rest of your weekend. We'll see all of you, I hope, at the next show. Bye.
Good night.